Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this Cabinet Grants Panel meeting held via remote video link on Monday, the 25th of October at 4 p.m. I'll go straight to Mr. Clark to give us a virtual meeting explanation after the roll call, please.
Thank you, Chairman. We're meeting virtually under permission given by regulations in 2012 to executive meetings. This is a meeting of the Cabinet and therefore can benefit from those regulations. The roll call, Councillor Webster.
Present.
Councillor Hillier.
Present.
And Councillor John Belsey.
Present.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Item 2 is to note substitutes in accordance with Council Procedure 4. As we're all present, there obviously are no substitutes. And item 3 is to receive apologies. Again, there are no apologies. To receive declarations of interest from members in respect of any matter on the agenda. Gentlemen, do you have any declarations to make? I'm seeing you both shake your heads, and neither do I have any declarations to declare. To confirm the minutes of the meeting of the panel held on August the 23rd, 2021. Gentlemen, if you could please indicate in the usual way under reactions. Thank you. Thank you. That's agreed. To consider any items the Chairman agrees to take as urgent business, I have none. To receive representation from members of the Council on the applications, I have received none. Gentlemen, have you received any representations? No, I see you both nodding. Thank you very much. And item 8 is to receive the corporate grants scheme report, and I turn to Mr. Peter Stewart to introduce that, please.
Thank you, Chairman. This won't be a long introduction. It is a short report and a very readable report. As you'll have seen, there were 4 community grant applications, and I think the assessment from the grants assessment group was they all had merit. However, 3 of the applications are recommended to receive no grant because they do not meet the criteria that you have set to assess these grants under. One, for example, has already started. It would be for retrospective funding, as an example. So there's one application of the 4 which is recommended for the award, and that would be the scrapless scheme, a scheme of great merit, it seems, to store food that otherwise would go to waste and thereby be used for Burgess Hill residents and from wider afield, no doubt, at a subsidised cost. So the group were in favour of this one being put forward for an award by your Cabinet Grants panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Gentlemen, do you have any questions on the applications? Councillor Hillier.
Thank you, Chairman. I don't have any questions as such. I think the report is brilliant. In relation to the ones we've discarded, I see and accept those reasons. I guess I'd just make a plea in relation to relate. Through my work in another place, in the world of children's care, it's very obvious that organisations and services like Relate, which help couples potentially make their relationship better, is massively underfunded, is massively needed. The difference that could be made to the lives of children and families through having the means to try and support people to get through their difficulties. I think it's a really huge deal in our society, and I'm not saying that we should obviously do it here. The criteria for turning down are clear, But I guess I'll just make a personal plea to officers working in this realm that, I feel this is really, really important. I don't quite know how we do it because there's so many demands on the public sector. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Hillier. And I agree with your sentiments that we should be doing everything possible to help families to relate better and to stay together, because there are many, many benefits to that. And I'm very pleased to see that officers are working with Citizens Advice West Sussex on their pilot project for domestic abuse, and that's been referred to the Mid-Sussex Partnership for consideration. So that is one way that these sorts of grant applications can be dealt with. And I know that officers do work very hard to ensure that fair decisions are made on each and every application. And of course, your comments on the scrapless CIC application are noted. And again, I'm sure that officers scrutinise the applications very carefully in that regard. Councillor Belsey.
Thank you, Chairman. Interested with the scrapless CIC thing. We've obviously seen quite a lot of community fridges over the last few years in the area, and there seems to be a sort of a wider development of that by sort of turning it into a sort of a slightly wider offering and sort of a bit more versatile. So I've been watching that with interest as to how that proceeds. I was just wondering where it is actually in Burgess Hill, whether it needs to be a town centre location or whether it is a bit more rural, because it talks about nearby farms and taking the fruit and vegetables. I'm quite interested in just knowing where it is. The only one I want to just comment on is obviously befriending for afternoon tea, because just as an example, I was out exercising yesterday and in the village of Ashurst Woods, and I overheard some conversations between people, and a lady was sobbing as to how lonely she was, and I thought to myself, do you know what, an afternoon tea would be just the ticket for her. And I realised how many people there are, and a lot of those we don't see. And so I'm disappointed for them that it's because the application's already started. And that obviously got me thinking that, well, I agree some of the sessions must have happened, but if it's a monthly thing, there must be a lot more to happen in the future. And so I wondered whether there was any merit in, or asking whether there's any scope for helping fund future teas, which wouldn't be retrospective. I appreciate the idea is retrospective now, but there are going to be teas coming forwards, and I'd just be grateful for any comments on that and how we might be able to support them at all. I think even though we know it's an important factor, it's still easy to underestimate how important loneliness is for so many. Thank you.
Councillor Belsey, you're quite right. And I have questioned our support of the Silver Sunday programme of tea parties that we have offered in previous years, except during COVID, when we delivered packed cream teas to older people. And the council officers are supporting other organisations that do deliver such activities. And yes, I very much hope that Befriend will apply for granting in the future, so that it won't be retrospective and that they can abide by the rule. And it's a difficult one if we were to say, oh well, we'll waive this one. What other ones have we refused in the past, and what other ones might we be challenged on going forward? So I do think it's important to stick to the rules, but to encourage them to apply in future, as you suggest. I'm particularly pleased to see that the officers are working with underrepresented groups as well, to enable them to put in grant applications for assistance to help in their communities, because there are some very real needs in BAME groups, particularly in improving skills so that they can be re-employed following perhaps furlough or redundancy during COVID. And I think those are very important areas of work that this council has worked hard on in the recent past. In terms of the scrapless CIC application, can I ask members if they are content to proceed with the recommendations as put to the council, as put to the panel? And I see that's unanimous, thank you. And can we move on to agenda item 9, please? And I believe that is to be introduced by Elaine Clark. And thank you, Peter Stewart.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. We only had one application to consider this time from Bolnor Village Community Partnership in Haywards Heath, who wanted a grant of £5,155 to upgrade the CCTV to enable them to provide a better imagery that could be used as evidence by the police, for example. And it's not just for the Woodside Pavilion, but for the wider area and the recreation ground, which is managed by Mid Sussex District Council. But there are some local community infrastructure section 106 funds that we're holding, which have been provided by developers for improvements to the public realm, including CCTV. So that would be an appropriate use of these funds, and it has been recommended for a full grant. Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Do you have any questions? Councillor Hillier, you're the closest, so if you do have any questions, I'll go to you first again.
I have no questions. I'm aware of what's been going on, the dynamic of Bolnor, and I think this is a sensible project. I'm very pleased for Bolnor. They're attracting yet more Section 106 funding, but this is an important project, so I support it. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Councillor Belsey, are you content? Yeah. Can we please indicate our agreement by the usual method? And with that, gentlemen, I believe we have come to the end of the meeting. So I will close the meeting at 16:13. If you could remain in your place until the live screening has stopped, please.
Thank you, members.